Right, so this is my second time trying to record this, because the first time the file wouldn't process properly, so it wouldn't upload, which annoys me. But anyway, I was going to call this video Avengers Endgame, but it's not really the Endgame, but people think it's the Endgame because it's called Endgame. But I think that's a bit of a mouthful. And also it kind of exceeds the character limit that's on YouTube titles as well. That's a thing. But yeah, if this was the definitive end of the MCU, like, no, we're not making any more movies, that trailer for Spider-Man Far From Home, that's a fluke, that's not actually coming out, that's just a little tease of what could happen if this wasn't the end. No, that is happening, it's continuing. There are going to be more movies, even though this is called Endgame. It's the bookend of the Infinity Saga. Even though Spider-Man Far From Home is the end of this phase. It's all very confusing. And I don't want to go into that in this. This is just my thoughts and opinions on Endgame. There will be spoilers. Of course there will be spoilers. When aren't there spoilers? All of my movie reviews are spoiler reviews. So if you have not seen the film, buy a fucking ticket and go see it, because it's so good. It's now my favourite movie in the MCU. It's my favourite Marvel movie of all times. I love it so much. So damn much. And I'm going to start off with the bad stuff, because there's not a lot of bad stuff. It's more just nitpicks that I have. There are moments in the movie that don't make sense, and this happens in every Marvel movie, and it's based off of a medium that don't make sense. So I can take it or leave it. Like the stuff with the Infinity Gauntlet and how the stones work. How do the fucking stones work? That's my question, because the first snap takes out half the life in the universe. The second snap brings them back. The third snap just takes out only this one concentrated area of people or beings or monsters or whatever, and nothing else. And in the film, it showed that the stones actually have an effect on the wearer, that you have to be a certain power level to actually withstand the stones, and they do a serious amount of damage to the wielder. Hence burning Thanos. When Hulk uses it, burning Hulk. And then when Iron Man uses it, it ends up eventually killing him. Yeah, that's different to how they work in the. They work differently in the comics. In the comics, they don't actually, they don't kill the wearer or, severely damage the wearer. They just kind of do their thing. Another little niggle that I have is there is a lot of fade to black in this. There's a lot of points in the movie where the movie just fades to black. And it works, I guess, but it does take you out of it takes you out of it sometimes. And when you're getting really into a scene and it just fades black, you lose investment a bit. It's not to the point where it's annoying, or to where it's like, there's not a lot of it, but when it happens, it's kind of at a bad moment, and I don't like it, and it's kind of annoying. Another thing is the ending. Not that I particularly didn't like how this movie closes. It's the connotations that it has. And the connotations that it has is that Captain America's been snogging his niece for this entire time. Because he goes... Basically, the end of the movie is Captain America has to go back in time to the time periods where they took the stones from throughout the movie, and Captain America has to has to take the stones back to the points where they took them from throughout the film. doing so, he goes back to the 1970s, back to Peggy Carter, and finds Peggy Carter, and he just to have a life with her and have a kid. And when Steve Rogers gets back to his real world, his main timeline, he's an old man. He's just sitting on a park bench. He's an old man. And he's like, I had my life. And he gives Sam his shield. And yeah, you're like, that's an emotional ending. Yeah, if you forget that during Winter Soldier and Civil War, Cap was snogging Sharon Carter, Peggy Carter's niece, Steve Rogers' niece. No, he's been snogging his own niece throughout those two films. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Whatever tickles your pickle, I guess. I don't know. But that's all the bad stuff out of the way. The good stuff. Everyone gets a chance to shine, either throughout the movie or at that main big final set piece. And some characters get multiple moments to shine. Captain America. This is Captain America's movie. I'm not like saying anyone else gets shifted off to the sidelines. This is Captain America's movie. If anything, this is a Captain America, Hulk, and Hawkeye movie. Those three are the main characters. Tony Stark kind of takes a seat back in this. Captain Marvel is barely on screen. Black Widow kind of takes a seat back. She's not in the latter half of the movie because she dies. And, you know, Rocket, kind of okay. Thor, they do something interesting with him. He's grieving, so he just becomes a slob, and he's playing Fortnite with Korg and Meek. And he's in New Asgard, which is basically just a fishing town. And Hulk and Rocket have to go there to recruit him, and he's like, no, I'm not going back. And he's like, and then Rocket's like, they have beer on the ship, and he's like, what kind? And then he comes back. But he's like got a pot belly. He's basically in grief now, and he's in a massive depression. So they decide, all of the marketing was like, the Avengers are coming together, they're going to go to space, they're going to fight Thanos, and then they get the stones back. All of that happens just in the first 15 minutes. The Avengers come together, they go into space, and they fight Thanos, they kill him, and they realise he's destroyed the stones. So they have to go back in time to the other movies where the stones have appeared, and the other timelines, and they have to get them back. And there's a joke, which is like, if we pick the right timeline, there are 3 stones in New York. It's like, yeah, that's a point, isn't it? The Mind Stone, the Mind Stone, the Time Stone, and one of the other stones, the Reality Stone, I think, because the Power Stone is in, the Power Stone's in space. It's in Guardians. So they go to Guardians of the Galaxy. They go to Thor: The Dark World, and they go to the first Avengers movie. And Hulk goes to the Sanctum Sanctorum. He's looking for Doctor Strange. He finds the Ancient One, and I like that the Ancient One is there, and it's kind of a behind the scenes of these movies. So it's behind the scenes of Guardians of the Galaxy. It's showing what Thanos was doing at that time, and that's how Thanos comes back to our time. He comes back through that timeline, and because he finds Nebula there. Hawkeye and Black Widow go to Vormir, which is where they have to sacrifice one of them. Black Widow's the one that gets sacrificed. It's very lucky that it's those two that go. Imagine if it was the other way around and it was Nebula and War Machine that went, and it's like you have to sacrifice the one you love most, and it's like, well, you're okay, I guess, but I don't really know you, and you don't really know me, so I guess we're screwed. We can't get that stone. We just gotta focus on the rest, I guess. And it chose the wrong ones to come here. That's it's bloody lucky that it's those two, and the scene that coincides with this, where Hawkeye and Black Widow are having a fight, and Black Widow eventually ends up like throwing herself off. It's emotional. You know, I didn't get it. There was some people that got really teary-eyed at that. Me, not so much, because I didn't really care for Black Widow. Call me a heartless sadist. Yeah, in the comments, I don't know. But I didn't really care for Black Widow that much. When they do get the stones back, eventually, they come back, they're like, right, Tony Stark has managed to build this machine, this gauntlet, that's able to, that's able to withstand the stones, the power of the stones, but they need someone who is able to withstand the power that comes from the snap. Hulk is the one who decides to do this. And the thing with Hulk in this is that Hulk is now smart. Hulk is now the Professor Hulk. So he's managed to mix his like the body of the Hulk, but it's the brain of Bruce Banner. And he's like taking selfies with kids. He's like Hulk dab. Fuck, why'd you gotta make Hulk dab? Why you gotta make Hulk dab for? Why? But the Hulk decides he's got to do this because, well, he's the only one that's powerful enough to withstand that amount of things, and most of it's gamma radiation anyway. So he's like, I was made for this. So he snaps his fingers after like fucking up his arm, essentially, and he brings back everyone that died, apart from the people that actually, properly died. Not the people that died in the snap, the people that actually properly died, like Gamora. Well, she comes back through time travel. We don't know what actually happens to Loki, because he takes one of the stones from the past and he goes into like a portal. Well, I think that's setting up for the show that they're doing with him. Everyone that died in the snap comes back, and then we have a massive fight. But that's before everyone comes back. The massive fight is just Thor, Cap, and Iron Man versus Thanos. Thanos comes back from the past. He's managed to shrink his ship. Ship grows, blows up the entire Avengers base, and there's a big fight. I skip over some of the details, but the big thing that happens in this fight before everyone shows up is it all looks dark, it all looks bleak. Thanos is literally pushing Stormbreaker into Thor, and then we see Mjolnir, which Thor brought back from the Dark World when Thor and Rocket went to the Thor the Dark World. He brings back the Mjolnir. Mjolnir's lying in the ground, and we see it lift and fly. It flies through the air. We think Thor's going to get it. No. That's not what happens. No. Cap grabs the hammer and starts laying into Thanos. And then proceeds to get beaten by Thanos. And that's when these portals start opening in the sky. And it's everyone that died in the snap. And it's these massive armies. It's all of the Wakandans. It's all of the sorcerers from Doctor Strange. It's all of them. And all of these guys versus all of Thanos' army. And he, like, brings out these, like, orc guys, these giant worms in the sky. It's fucking Lord of the Rings level shit, but with the CG that we have now, and it's the best fight scene in any movie I've ever seen. It's one of the best scenes in any movie I've ever seen. And at the end of it all, Iron Man makes the ultimate sacrifice. Everyone gets their moment during the big fight. Like Spider-Man especially, because he carries the brunt of it, because he's like holding on to this gauntlet for most of that fight. Even Black Panther gets like a moment to shine, and he's a fucking badass during this. There's characters in this that I didn't like, but now that I've seen their like full potential, I like them now. War Machine, I like now. Black Panther, I'm a fan of now because I like what he did. His scene when he was a badass. He's like, give it to me. And then he runs and he's fucking ground pounding and he's like taking out people, he's doing acrobatics. He is a badass in this scene. Even Captain Marvel gets a moment to shine. It's like, of course you would, but it's done well here because the Russos are actually good directors and they know what they're doing. So of course they're going to treat a character with respect, even when it's someone that's not even treated with respect in the comic books. You know. But, you know, the 15 or 5 minutes that Captain Marvel shows up in this movie, I liked more than the entirety of Captain Marvel in her own movie. Just saying. But everyone gets their moment to shine, and at the end of that fight, Thanos is like he's clicking his fingers, he's got this glove on, and he looks on the other side, there's no stones in it, and he looks at Tony Stark, and Tony Stark's got all of the stones in his hand, and he's like, I am Iron Man. And all of Thanos' army starts like dissipating and like going into like the mist, and Thanos goes into the mist, and Tony Stark is just sat there, and he's pale, and the heart monitor that's on his chest, the light starts to go dim, and then it shuts off. And Pepper, Peter, everyone is crowded around, and they're weeping, they're sobbing. The audience, they're weeping, they're sobbing. I'm weeping and I'm sobbing. I was like, I'm not crying, you're crying. I'm not crying, you're crying. But yeah, that one scene is what made the film for me, because I can say this now, I don't care what happens from Spider-Man Far From Home onwards. Spider-Man Far From Home can be utter dog shit. Every other movie that comes after this could be utter dog shit. It would be utter crap. I wouldn't care, because we have 22 movies from Iron Man 1 to Avengers Endgame that are decent, and we have this 22 epic, this 22-part epic that spanned 11 years of my 17-year life. Most of my life has been with these characters and seeing their growth, seeing them go from, you know, a man in a cave building like a suit out of scraps to a man who sacrifices himself for the entire world. That is stuff that will fucking break most men. And I'm a fucking little bitch, so you can imagine what I was like. But yeah, this a lot of people will sit there and say, "Oh, why are Marvel movies popular? Why?" It's because you grow to these characters, you get attached to these characters. It's no different from like Back to the Future or something like that. Only that here there's 22 movies, and there's a whole source material that's based off of that, even though the movies are a far departure from the source material. But still, it's breathtaking to see that something that I was always, that not only me, but a lot of people who were fans of this stuff as kids were mocked as in school, and now we can say now, that's why I read comics. That's why I watch comic book movies, for stuff like that. And that's why I love this medium. That's what Marvel means to me. It's, as much as this movie brings together everything that's great in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it brought together an audience. And that's why I love comic books. That's why I love comic book movies. That's why I love everything to do with this medium, because it brings people together. And it's not secluded to, oh, you can have your part over there and you can have your part over here. No, everyone is welcome. That's why this medium is so great. And that's why Avengers Endgame is so great. Because it's not a movie. It's not a movie in the sense that it's a movie in the sense that it's a cinematic experience that's, over an hour long. Well, I mean, it's 3 hours long, so of course it's over an hour. But it's something to, it's a landmark, really. It's something. It's the end of an era, and there will never be a movie quite the same. Yet there have been movies that were the same. It knows what it is, and it does what it does so well that there is no like, even the faults of the movie, you can say, oh, it's based off of a medium that's full of incoherencies, so you can give it that. And the way that it respects the source material, the way that it respects the fans and it respects the characters, Avengers Endgame is far and away the best Marvel movie ever made. And it's, I dare say, it's the best comic book movie ever made. It's probably better than The Dark Knight. I know that's going to trigger some people, but it is. It is. You can't sit there and say that The Dark Knight made you feel the same way that Avengers Endgame made you feel. You can't. You can't sit there and say that Batman fighting the Joker will make you feel the same as Thor or Captain America lifting Mjolnir and using it to beat down on Thanos. You can't say that. You can't honestly sit there and say that. You can't compare Avengers Endgame to anything else, because there's nothing that's like it apart from Infinity War. But even Infinity War, it's like that, they're the same movie. It's just the game is a continuation of it. And I don't class them as two movies. Same way that Lord of the Rings, I don't class those as three different movies. I class it as one 3-hour experience and one 9-hour experience. But yeah, that's gonna be the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button. hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace. Hit the links in the description below. They'll take you to all my lovely social medias. And see you guys in the next video. Peace.